It's been so hot and dry this summer, and we finally just started getting some rain. It just blew through here like an hour ago. We got like torrential downpours and 60-mile-an-hour winds. But I know my plants are happy about that because they sure missed the rain. One thing we may not have missed though are the mosquitoes that come along with that rain. Just the last few weeks we've been getting mosquitoes while we've been sitting out at night, and I know they're really important for the ecosystem. I know they're important for the animals that feed on them, the bats, the dragonflies, the birds, the spiders, but we don't like them and we don't want to be bit by them. So I went and found out all I could about what goes into mosquito repellents. Are there any that are healthy for you or not so healthy for you? And what ones are safe for the environment or not? It's summertime, you want to be outside, you want to enjoy your camping trip or sitting around a bonfire, but those mosquitoes are just waiting for you to come out so they can feast on you. And I don't think that's being dramatic, because that's literally what they're doing, is sucking your blood. And they carry some nasty diseases. Mosquitoes are the world's deadliest animal. They carry diseases like West Nile, Zika, dengue fever, yellow fever, and malaria. So that is not an animal that you want to be bit by in areas where those diseases are prevalent. And as our climate warms and mosquitoes are able to expand both their territory and their breeding season, we need some defenses against them. Some people don't really need a lot of protection against mosquitoes. If you live in an area where there's not a lot of them, or there's not a lot of diseases that are around from mosquitoes, you might not worry about them so much. Here in Minnesota, we always joke about the mosquito being the state bird. It's the common loon, just FYI. But once those guys start biting, it's no laughing matter. It just sucks. Sometimes you might feel like you're the only person in a group that's getting bit by mosquitoes, or maybe you react really violently and welt up when you do get mosquito bites. It really varies person to person. You might actually be right. You might be one of those people that really attracts mosquitoes. Scientists think that there's a few different factors when it comes to what mosquitoes are drawn to. One of the big factors that they think attracts mosquitoes is the carbon dioxide output. So when you're breathing out, that draws them in. And that carbon dioxide is how they recognize and seek out hosts to feed from. The movement is one thing that seems to attract them. If you're moving around, you're also probably breathing heavier, so there's going to be more CO2 output. They think that mosquitoes are more attracted to dark clothing over light clothing. And if you're pregnant too, that seems to attract more mosquitoes as well. And that could be body temperature or carbon dioxide output. They're not really sure with that one either. There were some small studies that showed mosquitoes are more attracted to people consuming alcohol as well. And I would like to see the controls because I couldn't find the actual study. But were they like just chilling, or were they out dancing in a conga line? And the other thing that might attract mosquitoes to you is you just smell real good to them for unknown reasons, or genetics, or what you're wearing as far as scents. There could be all sorts of different factors that we have no clue about. So before we dive into using mosquito repellents, which is going to cost you money, and there's obviously some waste factors in there, let's talk about what we can do to avoid mosquitoes in the first place. First one is just avoid them when they come out. When they come out at dawn and dusk, go in for a little bit and then come out after that, or spend time outside before that. The second one is to cover up. Use loose-fitting clothing, long sleeves, long pants, and socks and shoes. Keep your windows and your doors closed so they can't come in your house, and you're gonna get that one little mosquito that's just like in your ear at night in your bedroom, so you don't want that anyways, so keep your doors closed. Eliminate mosquito breeding grounds. So take a walk around your yard, see if there's any spots where wrigglers could be living in, and that's the little larva of the mosquitoes. So they lay their eggs in water, and then you get your wrigglers. And then you get the pupa, and then the mosquito comes out. Check potted plants, toys, water tables, keep your bird baths clean, and fill in any low spots in your yard with compost. Bats, birds, spiders, frogs, and tadpoles. Those are all known to eat mosquitoes or their larvae. So if you can bring those animals in and make a happy habitat for them in your yard, you might be getting rid of some of those mosquitoes. Dragonflies prefer a higher perching spot, so by planting some milkweed, some Joe Pye weed, or some black-eyed Susans, that can kind of bring in some of the other animals that they like to eat too, and they can perch higher up on those. Insectivorous bats usually go more for moths, but they'll nab a mosquito here and there too. One question I did have was, can you plant plants to deter mosquitoes from your yard? And it seems like you can plant all the plants you want, but if you're not crushing up the leaves and releasing those chemicals into the air, you're not really going to be deterring them. There's probably no harm in having them there. Maybe they work a little bit in the first place, but you kind of have to have those crushed up leaves in order to keep the mosquitoes away. Some of the different types of plants that are thought to keep mosquitoes away are the citronella geranium, floss flower, citrosum, marigold, eucalyptus, peppermint, lemon balm, catnip, basil, thyme, mint, and lavender. So, I don't know, go plant some, see if it works, but I wouldn't invest all your money in planting those specifically for that reason. The other thing that helps keeps mosquitoes away is insect repellent. Maybe you've done all those other things to mitigate the mosquito population in your yard, and you still need to go outside, or you're on vacation, or you just need mosquito repellent. Some people have big concerns about putting certain chemicals on their body and if it's going to affect their health versus the benefits that you get from repelling those mosquitoes. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that kids under 2 months are not exposed to Deet products, and they recommend kids under 3 years aren't exposed to oil of lemon eucalyptus repellents. Those may cause some allergic reaction, or there just haven't been enough studies on kids those ages with those products. Let's talk about Deet first, because that is the most commonly used and widely available product on the market to repel mosquitoes. It is also the most effective product. Scientists don't actually know how Deet works, but they think it's some sort of combination of either masking our scent to the mosquitoes or making us smell or taste really bad. When they land on you, they have little chemical receptors on their feet, so they can kind of like taste and smell with their feet. So they might land on you, but they probably won't bite you if you're wearing a Deet product. And typically they'll just stay away from you altogether, as well as ticks, flies, and a few other pests. Deet comes in varying concentrations, so the higher concentration of Deet, the longer it should last. So at application, a 98% Deet shouldn't work any better than a 25% Deet, but 4 hours later, it's going to be more effective than that 25%. So something to consider is with higher concentration, you get a higher concentration of that chemical, and you might not want all of that for the amount of time that you're going to be outside. And with a higher concentration also comes increased odor, and it can affect fabrics and plastics too. So it can degrade those fabrics and plastics. So you don't want to be spraying more than you have to, and you don't want to have to use a concentration that's higher than what you need. Shoot for a product that's less than 30% concentration of Deet. If you have a 24% concentration, that should typically last you about 5 hours. The EPA has listed Deets as safe for adults and children when used properly, and they have not identified any risks to human health, the environment, or non-target species. I did find something that said that they were waiting on a review about endocrine disruption about Deet, but there were other chemicals prioritized, so I don't know if those results are even out yet. Now, they do say they don't have concerns about Deet when it's used properly, but when it's not used properly, there definitely are concerns. There are people that have died from ingesting Deet, and there have been a few reports since the 1950s when it first began to be marketed to Americans of neurological issues, seizures, but it is a few reports out of millions of people that use it daily. So I'm not concerned about health issues when it comes to using Deet. Proper use of it is also not dousing yourself in it, only the exposed parts of your skin, and not putting it underneath clothing, and definitely not ingesting it. The EPA considers Deet a Category 3 chemical, which means it's slightly toxic by the eye, skin, and oral routes. So you don't want to get it in your eyes, you don't want to rub it into a cut on your skin, and you don't want to ingest it. There have been some studies suggesting that the combination of sunscreen and Deet can have adverse health effects because for some reason when they're together they get absorbed into the skin more. But when I looked at those studies, it seemed like it was only concentrating on sunscreens with oxybenzone in them. So I know that we learned in our sunscreen video to avoid sunscreens with oxybenzone because they're so bad for the environment. I couldn't find any studies that talked anything about any other chemicals in that sunscreen. So I don't know if there is something about non-oxybenzone sunscreens and the combination of Deet. Overall, it's best to avoid a sunscreen mosquito repellent combination anyways, because you want to use your mosquito repellent as sparsely as possible, and you only need to apply it once for every long amount of time. Our sunscreen we want to be reapplying every 2 hours or when you get wet or towel off or anything. So you want to be reapplying your sunscreen more, and you want minimal use of the mosquito repellent. Another type of chemical used in mosquito repellents is picaridin. While Deet can only be applied to exposed skin, picaridin can be applied to your clothing as well as your skin. And in addition to mosquitoes and ticks, it also repels chiggers and fleas. Picaridin is moderately toxic to fish because it builds up in their tissues when it gets into water. Another one is IR 3535, and that's recognized by the EPA as safe for children and adults, but they caution that it can be an eye irritant. IR 3535 also has the added claim of protecting against head lice. So I haven't found any specific mosquito repellent IR 3535 products, so I have never tried any of those. Metafluthrin is a chemical that's found in some of like the coils that you might put around your yard, or the little clip-ons that have a little fan that spread the chemical into the air around you. Those chemicals are highly toxic to both freshwater and marine fish and invertebrates. So I guess I would try and avoid those ones. Permethrin is a chemical you can put on your clothing, or you can buy permethrin treated clothing. It has the same effects as the metafluthrin on the environment. So that's one that you definitely wouldn't want to have like your permethrin treated pants and then go walking through a trout stream. Probably not that great for it. Spraying and fogging your yard with mosquito repellent probably will work. It'll also kill all the other insects and pollinators and bees and butterflies in your yard as well. So it's not very good for working with a target species. And once it dissipates, mosquitoes can come and fly in your yard anyways. I typically try to avoid the aerosol sprays for most things. So if you're looking at either the pump or the aerosol, I'd go with the pump, just because those aerosols emit those VOCs that can cause asthma-inducing low-level smog. Deet has been shown to be the most effective product on the market. So if you are in an area that has those diseases, especially malaria, you do want to worry about those and the risks that you're taking by not using a product that's as effective as Deet. So you do have to weigh some of those pros and cons when you're choosing which products to use. That's everything that I've learned about mosquito repellents. If you have any other information or really good sources on especially the environmental effects of those mosquito repellents, I'd really love to know down in the comments below. The next video is going to be looking at some of the sprays that I've used and my friends have used on which ones work and which ones don't work. If you want to get new videos when I release them, click subscribe and hit that bell down below, and you'll be able to see all of our videos for our 52-week challenge on trying out a more sustainable life. Thanks for watching. As with anything, please remember that I'm not your doctor, and I don't know if you have any special reactions to things or sensitivities to things. So you may react to products differently than other people do. So you gotta talk to your doctor about what products are safest for you.